No clickbait, no course shilling, no wasting time. If you're wondering if music school is worth it, the definitive answer is... maybe. What makes this question hard to answer is that it is so dependent on you. Your background, your interests, what you want out of your career, what you want out of life. So consider this an overall look at music school today, and I hope it'll be of use to any of you who are considering going to music school, any parents who have kids who want to go, anybody who's in it now, and even anybody who has graduated. For context, I am myself a music major. I went to the University of Massachusetts Lowell and got my bachelor's in sound recording technology, their name for audio engineering. It's been 7 years since I've graduated, and I've been fortunate enough to still work in the music world, though not entirely as an audio engineer. By day, I do marketing for a microphone manufacturer, and by night, I run this channel. And between those two, I've been able to do lots of cool things, meet lots of cool people, and even afford my own apartment. Who knows, one day I might even buy a house. The millennial dream is within my grasp. So long as I have hands to clap. That's from The Grinch. Why am I quoting The Grinch? Let's explore a few questions that will be helpful for making your decision. The first question you should ask yourself is, what kind of job in music do I want? If you want to become a music educator in the US, it'll depend on the state, but you'll likely need at least a bachelor's degree. If you want to be a music therapist, you'll definitely need a bachelor's and probably a master's as well. In addition, it's very rare for someone to get into the classical music world without intense training of some kind, which often involves getting a degree. So in those cases, you're shipping up to music school. Whoa. If you want to become a performer, an engineer, a business executive, things get a little bit murkier. So much so that I'm gonna need some extra help for this one.
My name is Cliff Notes. I'm an artist, an entrepreneur, and a part-time professor at a bunch of universities, but primarily Berkeley.
But that's not all.
I am Alex Canovis. I live in Brooklyn, and I am a choral conductor. I conduct a group called the Young New Yorkers Chorus, and I also may or may not be related to Michael T. Snare.
Are you kidding me? The second question is, what school do I want to go to? There are many music schools in the US. Berklee College of Music, UMass Lowell, Ithaca, NYU, Juilliard, New England Conservatory, Belmont, Full Sail, Manhattan School of Music, USC, and all that. Each of these schools are renowned for different programs and concentrations, and even if you're looking at the same degree at multiple schools, each one will offer a slightly different curriculum.
I went to a small liberal arts school in Massachusetts called the Wheaton College, not to be confused with the Wheaton in Chicago. It's super Christian. And I studied psychology and music. As I studied it, I just learned cool things about how the brain works. I think it still applies in my work, but music was really why I was there. So it was like a lot of theory, a lot of jazz theory, a lot of classical theory, and then just like the onslaught of, classical musicians, the Mahlers, the Beethovens, the Mozarts, all of that stuff.
I went to Ithaca College, and I graduated with a degree in vocal performance. I mainly focused on opera there, but I also learned art song. I sang in the choirs all 4 years. I also worked in arts administration. It was a great experience, especially for undergrad education, because I was able to do so many different things.
My program could roughly be split into two halves. The first 2 years were spent learning about music generally, lessons for our particular instrument, mine being voice, music theory, music history, and a couple of gen eds. The last 2 years were far more focused on the audio engineering side. I personally like this balance. I think it helps develop a fuller understanding of music as both engineer and performer. As a disclaimer, that reflects my experience at UMass Lowell about a decade ago. I did check their curriculum recently and it's pretty much the same, though they do get you into engineering right in freshman year, and they added a microeconomics class, which is I think that's pretty great. This is pretty easy so far, right? Just pick a field and a school and you're good to go. Oh boy, you know what that means. It's time for America's favorite game show, Guess the Total cost of attendance for the upcoming 2024-2025 school year for an on-campus student at several music schools. Let's start with my alma mater, UMass Lowell. If you're in-state, the total is $33,114, and if you're out of state like I was, it's $52,412. The tuition portions of those totals are well above the average tuition across the US. Maybe you can chalk that up to Massachusetts being a more expensive state to exist in. How about Belmont? You'd be paying $57,590, a slight increase from UML's out-of-state total, but it does put you right in Nashville, a huge music city. My brother went to Ithaca. How much would that be? Oh, $75,000. That's a big jump. Cliff teaches at Berkeley. What's there to, $78,000. Oh my God. Let's do a lightning round. Juilliard, NEC, Carnegie Mellon, Full Sail, Johns Hopkins, and Drexel. Those are all in the 80K range? Oh man, I'm gonna regret this. Dolores, pull up NYU's total cost of attendance. How much does NYU cost? I want to remind you, that's just 1 year. Music school is expensive. This isn't necessarily a unique problem with music. College these days is expensive across the board, but music schools happen to be among the most expensive. The totals I just rattled off put these music degrees up there in price with degrees in law or medicine or engineering, all of which are fields that I'd say have more job prospects for graduates right out of the gate.
There is a foundation that it was built on, that being the music industry, that is slowly and quietly crumbling. I feel like funding for certain things are becoming less frequent. Like for Harvard, you get like tons of doctors that are making easily 6-7 figures and they're giving back. Your endowment is crazy. I'm curious to know what our endowment is at Berkeley and what it compares to other universities and what we're able to pay for. The other side of that too is to create music on the scale of the music industry. I think it is extremely expensive to do so. We're in a studio that I built over 4 or 5 years that costs well over $50,000, and this is a small studio. All the money that's not being returned back to the alums in their endowment, they have to make up for it with your tuition.
Housing is a big part of that, and NYU especially, just because I'm here in New York City and housing costs are out of control. Part of it are, administrative fees. At that point, that's when money becomes fun points. And it's were you born into a family with a lot of fun points? And if so, then you can bring the fun points to put those towards school. But were you born in a family without a lot of fun points? Okay, then you're going to take out all these loans, and hopefully they're just federal. But if you have to go down the private route, that's a really dark route to go down that a lot of people have to go down, and it's really, really, messed up.
It's largely because of that high price tag when compared to the job market that many people believe music school is not a good investment. If your only focus when choosing a college degree is the ROI, if your only goal is to land a job that is financially stable or even lucrative, oh my God, do not go to music school. Go into accounting or business or engineering or law or medicine, any field that awaits college graduates with open arms and health insurance. And if you choose to do that instead of music, that is completely valid. But I feel like focusing solely on ROI misses the point of a music degree. If you want to study music, that is an acknowledgement that money is not the most important thing to you. You want to do work that is meaningful to you. And that's not to say meaningful work can't be found in accounting or law or engineering. You might not care about those fields though. You might find the work in them soul-sucking. You might not want to potentially work a job you hate just so you can pay the bills and chip away at music in the downtime. You might want a shot at making the thing you love your livelihood. I'm sorry, I can't hate on that. I did that. Let's imagine the value of a music degree as a pie chart. In my experience, the tactile things you learn in music school account for 1/4 of the degree's value. And even then, it's not really the things you learn, but the context that ties those things together. It's a meme, right? Knowing what a half-diminished 7th chord is doesn't help me pay my bills. Sure, man, but that's true of most knowledge and skills. It's not what you know, but how you implement it in your daily life.
In the last 4 years of of my life, I don't remember every single thing that I did, but there are very key moments that I've taken as learning opportunities that I want to apply to what I'm doing moving forward. I had to transcribe so many Miles Davis pieces. Do I remember every single one of them by heart? No. But do I understand what Miles Davis was trying to achieve and how he was trying to approach music now because of that? Yes, and that's more valuable for me.
So what's the rest of the pie? I'd say half the value of any college education is the people you meet, both your fellow students and faculty. And for music schools, I'd argue the people are more important than the coursework. So a quarter of a music degree's value is the coursework, and the other 3/4 all have to do with people. There's the network you begin to build, but there's also simply the experience of learning to work with people. This is a core belief of mine. I believe anyone can do most jobs. Yeah, of course, you can't give a guy on the street a scalpel and expect him to do surgery on a grape, but barring some specific cases, I believe anyone can do most jobs if they have the spirit to learn and are given the right resources. Anyone can be a gardener, a plumber, a mechanic, an audio engineer, a performing musician, a salesperson, a CEO, or the most sacred of all professions, a YouTuber. You know what's harder to teach? Being a good hang. Being fun to be around, taking a genuine interest in the people around you as people and not as stepping stones in the career ladder, knowing how to collaborate with others, knowing when to add your input to something, and perhaps more importantly than that, knowing when not to talk. Music schools are a great place to learn those soft skills. They're also a great place to make mistakes in an educational environment. Trust me, if I had made certain mistakes that I made in freshman year in a real studio, I would have been fired on the spot. The final piece of the pie is the alumni network you get when you graduate. Going to a music school is an experience that you get to share with those who came before and after you, and it can help to fast track a relationship with someone, a shorthand code for you can do the things that I can do.
The pianist for one of my groups is, a fellow Ithaca alum and one of my closest friends. And because we shared the same education, I can trust his musicianship. One of my groups was invited to a conference this past October by an Ithaca alum who, was impressed by the quality of one of my group's work, but also it made that connection much easier. And I don't know if that would have happened if they just came across McGuire cold.
But there's another path I've yet to mention. Pull up many other videos about this topic, and you will be told that instead of spending 4 years at college, you can just learn how to play or record music by watching YouTube videos or finding a mentor in your area. You could even pack up your life, move to a major music city like NYC or LA or Nashville, and find anyone who will let you work in music regardless of what you're doing and how much you're paid. Is that a viable career path? Maybe. You can find success stories on either side of the college or no college debate. Donald Glover went to NYU for dramatic writing. Tyler, the Creator, didn't go to college at all. Charlie Puth graduated from Berkeley, which is where John Mayer went, but he dropped out after 2 semesters. Basically, everyone in Wolfpack went to University of Michigan, but Orville Peck got a foundational acting degree at the London Academy, and Robin Pecknold started his English degree at Columbia in 2013 after Fleet Foxes took off, but he never finished it. You can also find stories behind the scenes. Manny Marroquin got into mixing right after high school. Serban Gania went to 3 different universities. Lucian Grange didn't go to university. Robert Kinsel went to SUNY New Paltz for international relations and then got an MBA at Pepperdine. If you have the resources and connections already to get into the music business, you might want to go for it. Maybe you're privileged enough where you don't have to worry about making money when you start out. Or maybe your uncle works at Beyonce. Take advantage of the advantages you have in life. But I don't think it's right to tell every single person that skipping music school is always the better route. Sure, you could just move straight to LA or New York City or Nashville and find that mentor, but is that really more cost-effective than going to college, especially considering that those are some of the most expensive cities in the US? I'm not saying that jumping right in won't work out for you. I'm just saying you're choosing one kind of risk over another. I think both sides of this debate are victims of survivor bias. All of the people who have made it by going to college or not going to college are at the forefront and will tell you why their approach worked for them, but there are far more people who took either route and did not find the same level of success. Maybe that's where we find the core truth of the matter. Regardless of education, finding success in the music world comes down to a mix of hard work, perseverance, and luck. There are many things you can do to stack the odds in your favor, but there will always be this unknowable, uncontrollable influence that pushes some people forward and holds other people back. So the last big question is, even if you don't achieve your wildest dreams, even if you end up with loads of debt and no stable income to pay them off, do you still want to pursue music? This is heady stuff we're talking about now. How to live a valuable life. I can't answer that for you, nor should I be able to. I'm just a guy on your screen. I'm not your dad. I'm not your endocrinologist. This is a big decision, and it's possibly the first major decision you'll be making in life. You'll be stepping into a working society that is still relatively new in the grand scheme of human history. 300 years ago, we had typewriters. Now we use LinkedIn. Let that sink in. Whether you go or don't go to music school, you'll be making a decision that impacts the next several years of your career. I don't think I can make that decision any easier for you, but I will share one piece that I've learned in the 7 years since I've graduated. You can choose what success is to you. Here's another reality of the working world that tends to go quiet in these discussions. It's not uncommon after you graduate to get into a job that is not directly related to what you studied. A recent study found that it's basically a 50-50 split. Again, I went to school for audio engineering and now I do marketing and... But my situation is unique, you know? I have buddies out in LA who have worked on records by Kanye, Post Malone, Justin Bieber, Khaled. I have one buddy who works at Power Station Berkeley and who also worked on the West Side Story movie a few years back. I know people who are out in Nashville who do studio work or live sound. I know music business people who have gone on to work at SiriusXM and Warp Records. I know one person who, right after she graduated, went immediately to work with Wyclef Jean. So the immediate success thing can happen, it's absolutely possible. But I also know people who went back to school for computer science or electrical engineering. I know one person who went into university administration. I know dudes who fly planes now. I'm not saying you should go to music school with the expectation that you will not work in music, because that would be a waste. And I get that if you get a piece of paper that says you're trained to do something, you should be able to do it for your job. I'm just saying that life is long and success can actually be pretty nebulous. What you define as success right now might not be the same in a year's time, 5 years' time, 10 years' time. So, is music school worth it? I think there's a better way to ask that question. Who do you think music school is for, and who do you think it's not for?
I think music school is for folks with a specific plan that they know that they need music school to be able to achieve that plan. Being able to do that, or being able to say that, takes you having to think about your own life goals and think like, hey, what exactly am I trying to do after 10 years? Which is tough. I'll meet a lot of students that are just like, listen, I just want 1 million streams on Spotify. I'm like, okay, what does that mean though? Like how are you gonna pay your bills? How are you gonna like get this dog? Like, a lot of folks will think everything just falls into place. And when you're 17, 18 years old, thinking about going to college, it's harder to think that farther along down the line.
It's for those that have capacity. It's for those that have means. It's for those that have privilege today. There are exceptions to that, and there are people that help open up access to music degrees to those who wouldn't otherwise have the ability to do that, whether that be financial ability or just knowledge or the support of their family. But the baseline, if we're talking about like implicit bias in the, music schools, collegiate education, the baseline is privilege.
I think music school is not for folks who are just trying to mess around and figure out what happens. I think school is not for anybody, music school or not, if you're just trying to figure out what happens next, because that just to kind of mess around should not be a $500,000 investment. you can do that a lot cheaper, and still go back to school later if you figure out that school is the thing that you need to do. But I think more and more, the real life experience, being in the real world, is the most valuable thing.
I hope this video helps you. Going to music school was definitely a crucial part of my growth, both as a person and as a working professional. But like with anything in life, it helps to know as much as you can about a decision you're going to make before you do it. Let me know if you're considering music school, if you're in it now, if you've graduated, if you've been out in the working world for a few years. I'd love to hear more people's perspective on this.